Tutorials, and welcome to beginning HTML tutorial number 15. So we're going to start going over forms. So what are forms? Forms are what you see on sites where they have like a username and password entry, or what are called radio buttons or checkboxes, where you could do something like on a form where you have polls. So you're like, oh hey, I want to vote for this on the site, or I want to vote for this, or something like that. So something that sends information to another page and will give you a certain type of output for that. So it's kind of like user selection as far as other other programs are concerned. It's any sort of input. So it's handling input from a user to modify something and get a certain result from that. So let's say, well, first off, we're going to go over the form structure, and we'll work right off that and go into the first input. Now, there's quite a bit of these, so it's probably going to have to be broken down into two separate videos. So I'm checking the time right now, so make sure I don't go too far. All right, so first we have the form. And then, so first we have the form, and that's the entry, and then we have the attribute. And now what this action means is it's where is this going to send, or where is it going to go when you are finished with it. So let's say the legitpc.com/send.php or whatever. And then you have the method. So the method is basically what do you want this information to do? Do you want to only send information, which is a there's only two. There's either get or post. So post is sending information, and get is receiving information. So like search boxes would use get, so that would be a good example of getting something, is that you want to look through the site. So you want it to only return stuff that you're looking for inside that keyword. So you would use get. But if you're sending information, you would use post. But we're going to use get for right now. And then we're going to close that. And then we're going to, so this is basically test. And then you close the form. Now when we go to live here, it just says test there. So this is the basic form structure here to get things going. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go over our first text input, which is going to be, our first form is going to be text input. So what we're going to have here is a good example would be like a username. And then we're going to have a so first what you do is you do this here, and then in between these P's here, you're going to do the input. So it is obviously an input type, and you want it to do a type of text. So now you're accepting a text box, you're creating a text box, and people could only insert text in there. So you're not, you're not uploading pictures or anything like that. And then this name is so this name would be what the identifier that you would use when you're sending it to your server, so you know where this information came from. So it could do its entry into a database or log you in, that type of thing, by using this username here. And here for this guy, we're not going to have them. We're going to get rid of. We'll just have the method there, but for this particular one, we would not have the method. So that would be deleted. But we're just going to keep that up there so you can see it. So we have name, username, and then we have the size. So what is the size? Size is actually it's not really used anymore in HTML5. You use CSS to control this. So you have a size of 15. And that means that the maximum size that you could put into that box, the size of the box is 15. So if you go past it, then it will only show 15 characters. So like you could keep, you know, those boxes, the text boxes where like you enter in a certain number, and at a certain point it doesn't show the beginning of your text anymore. It just shows up to the end. So that's what this is. But this would probably most likely be controlled by CSS when we get to that. And then of course max length, which you see there popping up. Let me make sure I spelt it right. This guy is how long maximum can you enter in. So for example, you have a date, you want to only enter in 4. If you have any more of that, then you'd want to, you know, change this. So let's say we do 30. So you can only enter in 30 characters in there for it to be valid. And then you're going to close that input. And we're going to take a look. So now here you can see that you can enter in a username in a text box. And let's see what happens. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. See, there it goes. It stops. So that's the max length there. I don't know. I guess it won't even show the size anymore in this because it's mainly only used in CSS. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this if Dreamweaver is not even going to display it when rendering. So that is your first text input. So that is a user. So you'd have like a username and password, and you would have those types of things entered in there. So in this case, we're only worried about the input type, the input name, and the length. So now we're going to go into something like a password. So let's go ahead and do a second input type. I believe this should work. We might need to do another P. Yes, we are going to need to use another P. Oops. Okay, so now in this P we're going to do our password. So we're going to say input. We're going to do first, we're going to say password. And then here we're going to say input type equals password. So now when it sends to the server, we know what it is. Actually, sorry, that's a type. Now we're doing names. This is what's going to tell the server what we want. So the reason why we put the password here is that it's going to create a type of those. You know when you go on a forum and you enter in a password. Hold up. I did something wrong here. Let me make sure I did everything. Input. There we go. There we go. So now when you enter something in, it puts the little dots or the periods so that your password is protected from people watching over your shoulder or whatever. So that's a type input of password. Now, as you see, it's got exactly the same thing as a text input, which is this right here, except for the type has changed to password. All right. So now we got that down. We're going to go ahead and jump back out here. And then we're going to go on to our next. So it's so we're going to say like a text area, feedback text area. This is our next one here. So let me go ahead and put a colon there. So this is a box that you could enter. So for example, you go on a forum and you have a little reply box. That's a text area. It has or Twitter, you know, you could put whatever text you want in there. And that is what a text area is. So now we go into the same point, and instead of input, it's going to be a text area tag. And then here we're setting our name, because this automatically sets the type, because we're saying it's a text area. We don't need to say text area again. So we're going to say feedback. That's what we're going to send to our server, what it's going to mean and things like that. And then here we have columns. course, you'd use CSS for a lot of this to control that type of thing. CSS can control the columns and rows as well as the height, but yeah, we're gonna do it here on HTML, and then we'll worry about that later in CSS. So let's say like 20, and then rows is going to be like 4. And then we're going to go ahead and close this, and we're going to say enter your thoughts, and then we're going to close that text area, and there we go. Let me see, to indent. Oh, so here to indent it, you close the P and it indents it down. So you can do either or. You can save the P for the end and have it next to it, or you could have it here. And let's see what happens if we change the columns. So let's say like 70. So it's like really long. So let's say like 40. Oops. So there you go. So let's stay with 20. So that's how you control it, and we're going to do a similar way in CSS. Sorry, I got something in my eye. Alright. So that guy there is pretty basic. As you see, we did not have the size. I mean, technically this is the size here, and we didn't have a max length, but these guys are technically saying the max length. So that's what you can see, is that if you have an input, they have the same tags. If you change the element here, it does not. You need different inputs there to customize what you're entering into the box and whatnot. So now we're going to switch back to another input. So we're going to have similar entries. This guy is called a radio button. So that's what you see when you have like 4 or 5 different selections, especially on like Safari, where it's got the blue, kind of like the blue gradient button with a dot and with a solid black period in the middle. That's a radio button. So we're going to do input and then a type of radio, and then we're going to have the name that it sends to the server. We're going to say like here in the reference book, it's doing different types of music. So let's say like hip hop. Let's do that one for the first one, and then we're going to have the value. So this is what it's going to say next to the radio button, and we're going to say hip hop. But here we might want to lowercase these, just in case on the server our naming convention has everything lowercase. Okay. And then you have the next value, which is what is checked by default. Sorry about that. So what is checked by default? So we're going to have checked, and we want this checked by default. Checked. So that's going to automatically be checked when we jump into looking at the radio buttons. So there you go. There you have a radio button. And I must have misspelled something. Let me make sure I'm not missing nothing. Let me make sure I got everything correct as I have in my book here. So we got a horizontal break to push it down. Input type radio. Name genre. Okay. Okay. Oh. So here you're going to have it at the end. Sorry, I missed this. At the end of this guy, you're going to have what the name is. So there, now it displays there. So there's the radio button. That's what it looks like. Now, why don't you see anything else? So you have to create a new button for each of those. Okay. So here we have genre. So this is what it's sending. So it's like this is the identifier to this, and this is the value. So it's going to go to the same place, but it's going to have a different value. So let's say EDM, and we're not going to have this checked because we already have the top one checked, and it's going to say EDM out here. It's going to say EDM. And now we have functioning buttons. So let's go ahead and do one more, and I'm going to type it in and not do copy paste. Input type equals radio name genre, and we're going to say like, let's say like rock, I guess. And close this, and then tell it what you want to put out there. Rock. Oopsies. There we go. Now we have the different radio buttons here, and of course it would be here your favorite genre. There you go. Now you have the 3 different radio buttons. And yeah, so that would be something as a good example of most things on forums there. So I'm pretty much out of time here, so I don't want to make each one too long. I mean, we could go over the next one. We'll go over the next one, which is just slightly different, and that's where I'll end it here because it's very, very similar to this one. So the next one is the same type of element here as input, but the type is a checkbox. Now, of course, the same thing here, and here the difference is that you could enter in multiple things here. That's the difference between a checkbox and a radio button. A radio button, you could only pick one piece, one selection, and checkboxes you could select all that apply, and that's usually the general thought of most things like this. Is, you know, you submit that a radio button is only one type of input, and yeah. So that's basically going to be it for this tutorial here. I'm going to continue on with the different types of forms, and we'll definitely have I'm going to decide whether we're going to have a practice, you know, getting these rock solid first, or go through all the types and then do different practices. I'll probably separate it out and do some more practice with it, just so that we get all this memorized. Alright, so this has been Steven from LegitTechTutorials. I'd like to thank you for watching my tutorial. If you like this video, please subscribe for more videos like it, and this series and other series like it. And if you have any questions, email me. And if you're looking for the reference book that I'm using for this tutorial to make sure I get everything perfect and don't give you any false information, check inside the description. It is a very good book, even though it is a little bit older, and I really like it. Alright, so I will see you next video, and thanks for watching. Email me if you have any questions, and have a good day.